I love to surf. It's a great, great way to just kind of erase yourself from what your everyday life is and just get out into a different headspace for a while. It's a good space to be in. My name is Juan Rodriguez. I was born in Sarasota, Florida in 1951. My father was from the Dominican Republic. He came to America, joined the Army in 1942. My mother grew up in New York State, of Czechoslovakian background. They met in New York City, got married in Cuba, and settled in Sarasota, and they've been here ever since. Well, I was born in 1951. I had a great childhood. It was a small neighborhood, but a lot of kids. And unlike the generation today, there was nothing on TV to start with. Basically no TV. We had 2 stations, and they were both stupid. So there was no reason to be in the house because there was nothing on TV. Plus, there was no air conditioning. So you're in your house in the daytime. It's about like you could bake pizzas in there, and there was nothing to do. But on the next block, there were 10 or 15 kids that were going through the same thing I was going through, didn't want to be in the house, nothing to do, let's go out and play. Great. Let's go build forts. Let's climb trees. Let's go fishing. Let's walk down the railroad tracks. Let's pick up railroad spikes. Let's have orange fights. Let's do all this stuff that was just what you did. It was great. We'd have big bicycle races, like 20 kids in a bicycle race. And there would be the best wrecks. It was so much fun. And you wreck your bike, and 2 or 3 guys run over you. You cry for about 2 minutes, and you start laughing. It was a great way to grow up. And we used to jump off bridges. And it was fun. And no one ever got hurt hardly, except a couple times. But we buried them, so it's all right. No, it was just a lot more open as far as what you could do without getting in trouble. Now, if people did half the stuff that we used to do, you would get in a lot of trouble. And it was innocent fun. It was fun. So, at some point, I discovered the beach. My mom used to take me to the beach when I was little, and I loved the water. I was always in the water. We'd go out to Crescent Beach, and it was just beautiful. No condos on Siesta Key. There are no condos. But discovered surfing in one of my classes at McIntosh Junior High. This girl that sat kind of next to me that I knew brought a surfing magazine to class that her brother had brought back with him from California. And there was a little bit of a rumble about surfing with the beach blanket movies and the Ride the Wild Surf and these, really hokey Hollywood movies. It just kind of captured a bunch of people's imagination. Like you could do all this stuff and be out in the water and there'd be parties and girls and, the lifestyle and everything's like, really cool. Nobody worked in these movies. All they did was surf every day and party every night. But anyway, I started surfing. So we would hitchhike out to Lido Beach or take the bus out. And I remember going over the Ringling Causeway when it was wood and hearing the bus, clanking on the wood kind of rhythmically. And seeing how close the guardrail was to the side of the bus, like freaking out. I'd never really taken a bus before. And so the first wave I caught was at Lido Beach. That day I could catch a wave and stand up. And I loved it. It was like the coolest feeling. And I thought the waves were like 6 or 8 feet. Looking back now, it was maybe, waist high, but you didn't have anything to compare it to. So I'd go to Crescent Beach, which was the closest beach to my house. And we surfed there and went as far. One year we built a surf hut that we used to sleep in on the weekends. Surfing was just a fun sport to do. It's like an adventure. It's a great way to be outside and kind of commune with nature, because anything can happen when you're sitting on your board waiting for another wave to come in. I've seen sea turtles come up right next to me. Baby sea turtles wash over the deck of my board in a wave. I've seen porpoises jumping right out of waves. Nice big swell will come in and 5 porpoises will be inside the face of the wave swimming. And you see them through the water, and all of a sudden they'll all jump like 10 feet in the air, do this arc right in front of the wave. I've seen whales, I've seen sea snakes, I've seen sharks. So you never know what you're going to see out there. When I'm waiting for a wave, I'm not just sitting on my board wagging my feet underneath me, la-di-dying along. I'm trying to be aware of what's around. When I got out of high school, I got a job at a restaurant, met some other guys that had this idea to go to California. So I hooked up with 2 other guys and we hitchhiked to California. And I got a job in Encinitas working at a surfboard factory. And when I was a kid, I always made things, either model cars, or I used to make little dugout canoes out of tree branches, and I just made stuff. I always liked to work with my hands. So I thought, this is what I want to do. I want to make surfboards. So I really dedicated myself after that to learning how to make boards. So what other jobs have I had in my life? Basically none. Okay, we're back in the part of my shop where everything happens here. On the right, I have 2 redwood surfboards that I made. The board on the left was made out of the root ball of a giant redwood tree. I made that in 1996, and that might be the nicest board I've ever made. And the wood all came from stumps, so there are no actual trees cut. So they're the stumps of trees that were cut about 100 years ago. I like to do redwood because, well, you might think I'm weird. Redwood is, let's say the tree's 1,000 years old, right? The air inside the wood is 1,000 years old. It hasn't been breathed in 1,000 years. It's like going into a mummy's tomb in Egypt and cracking that seal and breathing air that hasn't been breathed in 1,000 years or 2,000 years. When I shape a redwood board, I take my shirt off, I wear shorts, and I sand it with as little clothes on as possible to absorb this prehistoric air. And the redwood dust stains my skin, turns my skin darker. Over here, I make wooden surfboard fins for all the old guys that made surfboards in the 60s in California. It's a trip, because never in my wildest dreams when I was a little kid, looking at Susie Cook's surfing magazine that her brother brought from California, that I would be on a first-name basis with the guys that were in that magazine at the time. It's pretty bizarre. Usually if you get a board from me, you get the best, very best board I can make, because I've never been motivated by money. I've always been motivated by completing projects and making things. And am I the best craftsman in the world? Not by a mile. Do I try as hard as I can? Absolutely. Am I still learning and getting better? Yep. Because we all have room to get better and improve. So that's kind of my story. And I'm sticking to it.